we're watching it tonight, who has a very cool mechanism, lightsaber whips. How did I not know I was gonna do that? A dark ending for the entire season. Hey nerds, what's up? So like last week's video, it was kind of impromptu and the last minute kind of thing because I found those really cute houses at Target and just dived into that project. So the same thing kind of happened this week. I realized on Wednesday that Star Wars Visions came out and I was like, we're watching it tonight, and we wound up binge watching the entire season. So I'm going to be talking about Star Wars Visions. I'm going to generally cover Star Wars Visions with no spoilers and just talk about the things that I really enjoyed, and then we're going to dive into each episode. Of course, we'll have spoilers in it. So if you haven't seen it yet, just watch the first part of this video, and then if you have seen it, watch the whole thing, please. Okay. Star Wars Visions was 7 different Japanese animation studios taking their own take on Star Wars lore and stories. Obviously, each episode has a different animator, so obviously some episodes are going to be more favored than others, but I would say overall, all of the animation was beautiful. I mean, anime in itself is becoming just more and more popular in the West, and so seeing a very popular Western sci-fi film get combined with Eastern animation style was just such a cool thing. And it makes me think of back in the day when they did Batman Gotham Knight, and it was another Western meets Eastern. 6 animation studios did their own Batman story, and it was very much the same thing of like, I really enjoyed each and every one, even though some of the animation looked totally different from anything I've ever seen before. And it was just, again, really neat to see what these animation studios wanted to portray Batman through. So same thing with Star Wars Visions. All of these Japanese animation studios are portraying a story of Star Wars, and it's really neat. Another really cool thing about the entire series is that a lot of the music was like this close to being actual, basically being the actual Star Wars theme. In the first episode, there is definitely a part where it sounds like Duel of the Fates, and then in other episodes, they just sound straight from John Williams himself. So it's just it was a very cool thing to experience throughout. Probably my 2 favorite episodes are The Village Bride and The Ninth Jedi. Again, all of the episodes are really good, but those 2 were my favorite. They were the most compelling story to me, and again, the animation is just beautiful. If you are a fan of Star Wars in any way or a fan of anime, I definitely recommend watching this series and checking it out. And again, you don't have to binge the whole thing like me and my husband did, but you can take about 10 to 20 minutes. Each episode is about 10 to 20 minutes, and you can just sit and enjoy a Star Wars story. So let's now dive into, I'm gonna put it up here, spoiler alert, we're gonna dive into each episode, starting with The Duel by KAMIKAZE DOUGA. So The Duel by KAMIKAZE DOUGA is a combination of CGI animation along with traditional 2D animation, and it's all set in black and white and definitely made to look like an old Japanese film. The setting itself is in like the Tokugawa era, and all of the Star Wars characters in there, including the aliens and the people, all have like traditional old Japanese garb and hairstyles. It's really cool to see. They even put like stormtrooper helmets and use only like the front part of the helmets and use them basically as like kabuki masks. But it's very cool. And again, it's all black and white, but the only thing that is in color are actually the lightsabers and the colors on the droid, the buttons on the droid. So it's a really neat, stunning visual in that regard. It's a very traditional wandering samurai kind of story. He comes into the village, he sees that it's getting attacked by bandits, and he doesn't do anything until a Sith Lord comes out who has a very cool mechanism, a lightsaber, basically looks like an umbrella, and it's very cool, and he starts to fight the Sith. And they fight, and it's awesome. There's again the beautiful music, and the music that sounds very much like Duel of the Fates, which was a very cool touch. By the end of it, which I think was very cool, is you find out the lightsaber that he holds, which is of course in a katana, in katana shape and katana holder, is red, which means that he was a Sith, or that he is on the dark side. But he is collecting red kyber crystals, so you can assume from that his collection and what he's doing is he's doing his penance paying penance for all of the harm that he's done, and he's kind of like an ex-Sith now and taking out other Sith and getting rid of them. And I think that's it's a very well conveyed story in such a small amount of time, and hits you enough with emotion, especially with that ending. So a very good story all around. The next episode is Tatooine Rhapsody by Studio Colorido. This one is very fun and everyone is chibi. And you see some of your favorite characters like Boba Fett and Jabba the Hutt and some just little stormtroopers. Everybody is like in a chibi, adorable little squishy form. It's a very, very silly story, still heartfelt. It's about a band that is traveling through the Star Wars universe and trying to basically kind of hide their identities or just make a living with what they're doing. And they form a band with a Hutt himself, a young Padawan, a robot, 2 robots, and then a 3-torsoed alien. So it's very interesting and very, again, I think silly is the best term for it. They definitely pull at your heartstrings with the friendship. That's a big theme in most anime. And so after one of their members of their band is captured by Boba Fett, they decide to sacrifice their safety to play one last song before he gets executed. And then of course the crowd is loving the band, and then he tries to basically strike a bargain with Jabba the Hutt to be like, hey, you should sponsor us instead of killing us because we're an awesome band. You should sponsor us. And it's very silly. It also, a lot of these, because we watched it in English dub, a lot of the lines, of course, from Star Wars were integrated into the dub, including I've got a bad feeling about this, I'm your father, some other famous quotable lines from Star Wars that you'll see sprinkled out through each episode. The next episode is called The Twins by Studio Trigger. This is by far... This episode is just literally Studio Trigger. I don't know else how to describe it to you. It has everything. It has over-the-top powers and things that break the laws of physics, and just, it makes no sense. But it's exciting from beginning to end. You get a ton of lights and colors and special effects, and still enough of a story to compel you and make you feel for each character and kind of figure out what's going on. But overall, it's so Studio Trigger. Not only do we have an outfit that is basically Kill la Kill version mixed with the Darth Vader, we have like a Doc Ock 6-pointed Grievous lightsaber whips, and then we have just one lightsaber. He made a huge lightsaber big enough to cut a Star Destroyer, a Gemini Star Destroyer, in half. The next episode is The Village Bride by KINEMA Citrus, and this one is probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite. Something about this one and its music, I think all of the music in all of the episodes were very good, but something about this episode's music was really impactful to me for some reason. So they just did a really good job of choosing what music goes where, and it's very swelling and heartfelt and dramatic, and just really made this episode for me. Something I really enjoyed about KINEMA's animation is that their characters, specifically their hair, had lighter outlines than the color of their hair, and usually in a very like bright saturated color, which just really made them stand out from everything, which was really neat. The story itself was really impactful. Just a compelling story in such a short time of a village bride basically giving herself up so that her village can be saved. And of course, some people are against it, some people are for it. And this man takes a Jedi and kind of makes her witness the whole situation until she basically fights her fear of facing the Sith or whatever internal struggle she's going through, and then becomes the Jedi that she's supposed to be. And she does a very cool, not stereotypical, but a very cool kind of Japanese dueling scene where she just rushes and it's the one cut and you're dead kind of thing, and it's very cool. I really liked that in the culture of this world, they called the force Magina, and it was just a neat thing of how different cultures and worlds can interpret the same kind of thing but call it something completely different. So just that little sprinkle of lore was really neat. Again, I really enjoyed this specific episode, and so it's very good. The next episode is The Ninth Jedi by Production IG. This one probably had the most kind of twists and turns and the least predictable episode for me, I do believe. You start with a narrator kind of giving you the premise of the episode, and then you find out that they're trying to rebuild the Jedi Council, the Jedi in general, and you get, so I guess seven Jedi arrive, including our young Ethan, who arrives and is super excited to be a Jedi and hopefully to see other Jedi there as well. And the reason they're all coming together is because the Margrave has promised lightsabers to them, which is of course the ancient Jedi weapon. And then it kind of skips down to the planet where a young girl is with her father, her father, who is the lightsaber smith. Through a series of circumstances, the father is captured and he's able to get the lightsabers away to his daughter so that she could take them up to the place where all the Jedi are. They drop a little lore of how lightsabers turn a specific color depending on the wielder, and so she did not have a color of her lightsaber yet, so all you see is this kind of metallic, transparent force, but nothing there. So she doesn't know if she's strong enough with the Force, she's connected enough to the Force to know what her color is. But you can tell that she is actually connected to the Force and stronger than she thinks, as you will see throughout the episode. And then you get to the end of the episode and you're wondering, where's the Margrave? Will they all get lightsabers? And how are they going to save her dad? And you then realize through a dramatic show that most of the Jedi there are actually Sith. And they have to, the remaining Jedi, the good people, including the girl, have to fight off the Sith and kill them, and then basically embark on their journey to save her dad. So it left off a little open-ended and very much like the start of a series, which would be very cool in my opinion. But I was not expecting all of them to be Sith, but it was a great little turn, or not all of them, but most of them to be Sith. And the Jedi who had called them all was hiding inside the robot. I thought maybe the robot had killed the Margrave and he was going to kill them all, or, you know, those kind of things were the things that I was trying to predict, and obviously I was wrong. So that was a really nice surprise. The animation was beautiful, the story was compelling, I liked the lore that they put in, and overall, again, I thought it was like the start of an anime series, and I would love it if they continued. The next episode is TOB1 by Science SARU. This is basically Astro Boy but in Star Wars. It's a very cutesy animation style. It's a very cute story. It definitely seems like catered to children in that kind of sense. It's one of the more, I would say, artsy type episode. He's very imaginative, and they do like kind of a switch up of animation style or just like a texture kind of effect, and everything is very squishy, round, and again, Astro Boy, so it's all very soft. It's very kid friendly, even though they do go on to some heavy subjects like death and him facing some scary things. But overall, it's a very sweet story, and TOB1 wants to be a Jedi, and he finds out that his creator, of course, is a Jedi Master, and he was trying to protect TOB1 from facing the dangers of the world, and he wasn't allowed to go to the basement, but of course his curiosity gets the better of him. He goes down there, there's a ship, he activates the ship, and of course the ship sends out a homing beacon, which of course alerts one of like the dark side Sith who's trying to eradicate all of the Jedi, and then there of course is a battle that happens at the end. So overall, it's very cute. It's not my personal favorite episode, but overall it's a very cute, I just say cute a lot, it's very cute, very sweet style and story. So, and it's neat to just see a different animation style than some of the harsher ones that we've seen before. The next episode is another episode by Studio Trigger called The Elder. And this one was really neat too because it was showcasing a different side of Studio Trigger. The animation style is completely different than the normal style that you would see out of Studio Trigger, like in Promare or Gurren Lagann or Kill la Kill. So it was really neat to see this side of Studio Trigger. The animation is lovely. I loved the kind of solid dark shadows that were put onto all of the characters, or like just the color of the highlight of the hair. This one was a very compelling story as well between a master and his Padawan, and they travel to a specific planet because the master gets a very dark disturbance in the Force, and they find a old Sith elder who dons the look of a very, I don't know what the word is, but like a stereotypical older, almost like gremlin-like Japanese man who is very deadly. And so the Padawan and the Jedi Master split up, one to look at the Sith ship and one to look for the Elder himself. And they're hoping it's not a Sith, but once the Master finds the ship, he knows it's a Sith, and our Padawan interacts with the Sith first. He's taken down very easily, and honestly, I thought that the Elder had killed him, but he was not dead, and of course, Master comes to save his Padawan and to confront the Elder, and there's a very epic shot, including the iconic turn off your lightsaber, put it against your chest, and then turn the lightsaber back on to stab him. Impale them with your lightsaber, because you could do that. The Padawan turns out to be okay, and it's a very just good, like, master to apprentice training moment, and again, a very good, really pretty animation, short, concise, a little bit on the darker side story. Our 8th episode is Lop and Ocho by GENO Studio. This one focuses on a young bunny alien girl who is taken in by a very sweet traditional Japanese family. The planet is basically already taken over by the Empire, and they have to deal with the ramifications of that, and also dealing with how do they thwart the Empire? Does the family try to fight against the Empire, or does it just concede to the Empire and try to keep their family safe in that sense? And so that's what the main conflict is about between the father and Ocho, but their adoptive daughter, because Ocho is Lop's sister. How did I not know I was gonna do that? Lop, the adoptive sister, is trying to just keep her family together, and unfortunately she is not able to do so. She, of course, is handed down the family heirloom, which happens to be a lightsaber, and then goes to try and save Ocho from herself, basically, and the Empire, and it's very epic. The animation is really beautiful and detailed and sharp. This is another episode that very much felt like the beginning of an anime, beginning of a story. So that was really neat. And I'm hoping that with these episodes that hopefully we get a season 2 of Star Wars Visions, and maybe the stories will continue for each of the animation studios. Overall though, a very impactful episode. Though for me, for some reason, I felt more like this was just a really cool anime and then Star Wars was sprinkled in, rather than it being Star Wars and then a little like anime style, if that makes sense. This last episode of the first season of Star Wars Visions was AKAKIRI by Science SARU. This one was less Mega Man looking and very, very almost cartoonish, but the animation is flowy throughout. And this one had a lot of comedy and darkness in it, and it was a very nice combo and balance between the two. And you follow the story of a Jedi who is dealing with these like intense visions, and it's very much like Anakin, where he tries to prevent it from happening, and the only way that he can actually save the person that he loves is to join the dark side, and he actually gets to save her, and unlike Anakin. So there's that. So overall, it was a dark ending for the entire season, but overall it was a very good, compelling story and really neat to watch. Something that I completely forgot to talk about in this episode was their use or lack of use of music, and more on just traditional Japanese drums and the constant use of drums and the rhythm, speeding it up, slowing it down, adding more drums to it, just added a sense of tension and drama that I think they did such a good job on, rather than just using dramatic music. So that's my overview of Star Wars Visions. What did you guys think? Have you seen Star Wars Visions yet? I love when Eastern and Western cultures come together, especially if it's Japanese animation style, or I just want to see more Western pop culture things in the anime style, and also anime into like other Western types of things if it's done well. But anyway, really enjoyed talking about this. It was really fun to watch and honestly very fun to binge watch, so I highly recommend it to any anime fans or Star Wars fans out there. But anyway, what did you guys think of this video? Do you like when I talk or review over things like this? I'd be very interested to know. Again, I'm a super big nerd, so talking things about this is very fun and exciting for me. Anyway, thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. P.S. I'm making a ton of spooky content for the month of October, so stay tuned. Just to see what it looks like. That I realized on Wednesday that Star Wars... So overall, Star Wars... Why do I keep wanting to think origins? Visions. Just immediately thought binge watching the entire series. Or I'm going to be first generally... and of course be more spoiler. So overall, Star Wars Visions was 9 episodes was 7 Japanese animation studios working with Star Wars, or basically, let's try again. So like last week's, another kabuki masks? Yeah. Very traditional sword. That the sword he hasn't... No, he did unsheath the sword pretty early on. The sword that he holds... Oh. Who is it by though? Did I say Studio Trigger? The Margrave. I can't think of his name. Is Tatooine Rhapsody by Studio COLORIDO. The next episode is T0B1 or TOB1. Okay, you scared me a little bit. Okay, love you. P.S. All of the videos in October are going to be on the spooky season. P.S.